Welcome to the Every Day is a New Day podcast and live show, the inspirational show about moving forward and choosing to be more of you, transmuting the self-doubt and stepping into courageously aligned confidence in who you uniquely are. My name is Kim O'Neill. I'm a twice certified transformational confidence coach, Reiki master, best-selling author, and former crime analyst who now helps empathic, heart-centered individuals shatter the noise of self-doubt, find clarity on what self-love really looks like, and the courage to be peacefully grounded in who you've always known you are, from the inside out. Join me for the live shows on Facebook and YouTube, and visit KimO'NeillCoaching.com for more info. Let's get to it. I'm really excited with today's guest because she has a really inspiring story about healing from the outside in. I love that because I tend to talk about from the inside out, but everything is possible. And she is going to share her story with us today. So before I share more about her with you, I want to just go ahead and introduce Annie Francesca. Hello and welcome.
Hi, Kim. So great to be here. And hi to everyone on Facebook, the Facebook Live.
So Annie, I want to go ahead and just share with them, a little bit about your background. And then, of course, I want you to go ahead and tell us more about your story and, of course, what you do and how you help women today. So if you're just getting to know Annie Francesca for the very first time, Annie Francesca is a reinvention stylist who helps career and business women signal success with their style by breaking fashion rules. In 2013, she had an incurable cancer diagnosis, and that was the moment that she flipped the switch and decided to dress as the woman who wanted to travel the world, write a book, and speak on stages. Using a process she calls the adventure principle, she completely reinvented herself from the outside in, starting with her wardrobe. And within less than 6 months, she became completely cancer-free. And so, of course, there's so much more that I could say about her, but oh my goodness, we're just like kind of taking that in, letting that sink in. Annie, so let me ask you, before you went in this direction of having this incurable cancer diagnosis and becoming the reinvention stylist, how much did wardrobe and style factor into your daily life?
That's a really good question. Actually, I had always had an interest in fashion, even from a very, very young age. But what I can see now, looking backwards, is that there was a way of dressing that was true for me, and it's true for so many women, by the way. It was all these fashion rules and having to fit a certain standard that really greatly diminished my self-confidence. So by the time I was diagnosed with incurable cancer, I was 49. Sorry, my stupid earplugs or whatever you call them. By the time that diagnosis came around, I was nearing 50, and that was a time where all these rules were really very much in play. And so, I hope that answers your question.
So it sounds like it wasn't something that necessarily played a big role in your life at that point.
It did in the background.
Okay.
I didn't realize how much like this conversation about fashion was really holding me back. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, I think you do. So prior to becoming a reinvention stylist, what type of work did you do? Will you just like kind of paint the picture about what did your life overall look like at that time?
Okay, I was the queen of reinvention for one thing. So
Okay.
I did all kinds of things like it's going to take some time to remember them all. I was like a home-based travel agent. I worked in a couple of high-end clothing boutiques. I worked at a hotel. I did an internship in tourism and travel. So I was kind of really all over the map. I was a director for in-person and an online community, Fabulous at 50. That's just a number of the reinventions that I went through, actually.
And what was it like when you got that incurable cancer diagnosis?
Well, it came at a time in my life where I was literally on the verge of a dream. And it was so close. I thought it was so close I could almost taste it. So lying on that hospital bed when I received the diagnosis just after surgery, um, it just seemed like the cruelest of fate, you know? Like here I was about to step into something that I was reaching for a long time. And the dream was I wanted to host tours around the world. And I had just come back from Italy and Ireland. I did a site inspection tour with my 2 adult kids. And the goal was then to launch like our first tours, first in our local city and then abroad in Italy and Ireland. And yeah, I remember lying on that hospital bed thinking, you know, like, what the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like a what the F type of moment where, how did this happen? Like, where did I go wrong? So that was really a turning point moment where I just all of a sudden got huge clarity. And it like moments like that, and I can say that even for the present situation that we're in, moments like these where things happen and you end up thinking, what the F, right? I hope you don't mind me saying that
No,
on
I
your
don't.
show. It's like, what the F? How did this happen? How did we get here? And it can create so much clarity and focus if you're willing to go there and mine it for that richness.
And was that, I completely agree with that. These WTF moments, right?
Yeah.
They're so unpleasant and yet, like you said, so rich with lessons. And so was that was that how you typically went about challenges in your life at, prior to that moment? Was that already a habit for you? Or was that kind of the first time you really, not to say the first time you learned anything from life challenges, but
yeah.
Did you just notice a shift there in how you see life from at that moment?
That's a really good question. I mean, there have been other challenging moments in my life for sure. And how I approached them in the past was, I came from a very faith-based community. And so that was my way of getting through it was like gratitude statements in the past. In this particular instance, okay, I'll take you back to I'm lying on that hospital bed with this moment, thinking, how did I get here? And it was then that I came to just really mine, like dig, excavate. What was it that made me so happy and really transformed my life in the past? Because I need to bring more of that into right now so that I'm just literally creating that feeling every single day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So was the first answer, my wardrobe and what I wear, or?
Okay, the first answer actually was the next thing after the oncologist left the room after she delivered that diagnosis. Next thing I did was ask a nurse for a pen and a piece of paper.
Okay.
And the nurse is thinking, I don't know what she's thinking, but how can this woman, start writing in a state like this? But I just started to write down a list, and the list just was like huge clarity and focus. All the things that I wanted to accomplish. And at the bottom of that list was cancer was not going to be a part of my reality at all. So the list included things like publishing a book, speaking on stages, traveling the world, and then, health, perfect, radiant health.
Wow. And
Yeah.
it sounds like, in many ways, I know when other people have shared stories about, I went through this challenging time and my life was drastically different before and, of course, now it's drastically different after. But it sounds like, I mean, you were already, to some degree, you were already doing some of the things that you loved. And like you said, you were on the brink of a dream there. And what, what, what would you share with us? What is some of that clarity? Like, why? I mean, was it all to then help women with their style, or do you think that was there something more about what this cancer diagnosis, brought into your life as part of that clarity? Does that make sense?
I think I need a little bit more clarity around that, actually.
Okay. I know some people say, why did this happen in my life? Right. Like what led to this happening in my life? And I'm wondering what your answer would be to that. How would you answer that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think how I can simply answer that is I really needed to shift. I really needed to shift from an old version of me that wasn't serving me at all and upgrade very quickly into, okay, I'm leaving all that stuff behind and I'm turning over a new chapter and just consciously, intentionally creating that new person as I move forward. And
And
so the
go
way
ahead.
that I did that was really with clothing, right? Is to just become very clear on what makes me feel like an old small version of myself. So as you can imagine, here I am, a cancer patient, and you know, if you've ever had a cancer diagnosis, you know that can really label you. It's an easily identifiable label. You walk down the street, and if you have no hair, no eyelashes, people can immediately tell what kind of state you're in, right? A state of dis-ease. So I wanted to create a state of health to really map out that person that I saw myself becoming and step into it so vibrantly that when people saw me, they wouldn't see that at all. That was my goal. Yeah. So I did that actually with like I intuitively leaned in and just asked myself what kind of clothing would represent that woman that I saw myself becoming, the woman that was speaking on stages, the woman that was publishing a book, traveling all around the world. And for some people that might be different. I saw sparkly pants. Maybe that's not, true speaker outfit, let's say, but that's that totally resonated with me. And so I bought this pair of skin tight sequin pants, and I just decided I'm going to wear them as much as possible to like during the day to the grocery store, and it just did so much for me because people would stop me on the street and they'd come up to me and they would just say like I hope you don't mind me saying this, but you just look so amazing. and, and okay, first of all, that did so much for me. And then second of all, I would test them because I wanted to know what they saw, right? And I would say, and this was the truth. I would say 2 days ago, I just had chemo. And then their
Wow.
mouths would drop open and go, oh my God, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. You just look like $1,000,000. So that just gave me so much confidence to know that, okay, they were seeing that version, not the old small version of me.
Oh, that's awesome. And then, so you started wearing clothes that you liked and felt better. And how did you get from that to now helping other women reinvent their
Well,
life as well?
okay, it took me a while because still had to, it took me a while. I was in a pattern of resistance around this clothing piece for other women.
Okay.
And you mentioned some of that in my bio, right? So the resistance around that was I had been in a religious cult for a brief time in my early days being married. I was back in the 80s. And so clothing was clothing was used to really control women. And I would say there's a tie-in to present day, actually. So women in general have been controlled with clothing. And I think we can all say that to be true, that this control starts from a very, very young age. You know, programming that doesn't happen for a boy when he's born, but it starts immediately for a daughter when she's born. And the parents start to control her out of fear around her clothing, right? So, because this conversation was so deeply embedded in my psyche, it took a while for me to just really embrace it. I was just in such resistance to it. So where it really began to spring forward into life is I started to beta test a group of women in my circle, and and um, and take them through a process that I had gone through myself on that cancer journey. And what unfolded from that just kind of blew my mind, and it still blows my mind every time I take someone through that process, because it's like, oh, I'm sorry, the sun is coming in. Okay, I think that's better. Hang on.
That's okay. I think it's a fantastic metaphor. You're getting to the turning point in your story, and the sun's shining through right at the same moment. So I think
I
it's
know,
awesome.
right? Yeah, that is an awesome metaphor. So it just blows my mind, because when I take women through this process, and it's a process that shifts them from an old paradigm of dressing to fit in, dressing according to fashion rules, dressing to hide negative body parts, which is a very controlling, limited, small thinking around clothing.
Yep.
And then I shift them into a process where I help them to think about, okay, who am I becoming? What are my big dreams? How can I get clear on that woman? And what is that woman? How does she show up? You know, what kind of energy does she affect around in the people that she touches, you know?
Yeah.
With her audience, in her speeches, you know, on live videos. So what's really interesting is that when I take a woman through that process, she could be like at a zero in terms of self-confidence, a zero in terms of she has no interest in presenting herself any differently, no interest in shopping, style, any of that. Sometimes almost within 15 minutes, she catches a vision for herself, and off she goes. And she turns into just this strong, powerful woman. And it's like, I can't believe what just unfolded. So it really excites me, because the more we take back and reclaim this power for ourselves to dress in a way that makes us feel powerful, the more that, first of all, we can enjoy our own God-given beauty, right? Which is what that whole conversation strips away from us. It strips us of the freedom to enjoy what we look like, so that we stand in front of the mirror and we think all kinds of horrible things about our bodies and the way we look. But when we shift it from having to look beautiful to what's going to make me feel powerful, then the beauty, which is already there, we're all born with it. That beauty just exudes and becomes like a magnet for all kinds of amazing things. So that just excites me.
I'm in, you have a Facebook group, and it's been fun to see how you do that with just showing women different, options of how they can make changes in their wardrobe, but also empowering them and seeing that, there are women in the group that are, currently experiencing that shift from, maybe being in a less empowered state to a more empowered state. And Do you think is the vision really the key thing that helps them to move in
Oh,
that direction, or is
absolutely.
there more? Okay. Will you say more about
Absolutely.
that?
Well, I can give you examples actually. Hang on.
Okay.
I can give you examples because um, I have also researched, I can confidently say researched hundreds of celebrities, and they have used this process as well. Um, you can think of you can think of Beyonce or Rhiannon or Cardi B, uh, David Bowie. They all, and you can research their stories as well. They they were stuck in an old version of themselves, and they had a big vision of what they could see themselves doing. But that old version kept them on default, kept them showing up in a certain way, and they had to really break through those barriers. So they did it with clothing.
Mm. I love that. I just want to share right now in this moment that how I resonate. What this brings up for me is so many years ago, I was a registered dental assistant, and while I enjoyed doing that work, I absolutely like one of the things I absolutely couldn't stand was wearing scrubs every day. And I know so many people love scrubs. They, wear them when they don't have to, and that's fine. That's fine for them. It was so not good for me though. I felt so like I couldn't fully be myself. And,
Yeah.
it made such a difference. I was like, I can't keep doing this work. It's time for me to shift into something different. So,
Wow.
so I love that you have this message because it absolutely can play a huge role in how someone feels about themselves and, which of course impacts everything else in your life too.
Yeah, it does. It really, really does. Because of that whole conversation around beauty and fashion, it has really held us down for such a long time and created all kinds of mental and emotional problems. Like when you think about it, the self-loathing leads to depression, anxiety, self-doubt, self-hatred, which, manifests itself in anorexia, bulimia, yo-yo dieting, right?
Yeah.
Where we're constantly fixated on our bodies, but in a very unproductive way, so that we end up putting so much negative attention on our bodies. Whereas if you shift it to, um, you know, taking the focus off of the body, and then what's the energy I want to exude when I show up.
What kind of ripple effect have you noticed in your life after you started changing your wardrobe? Like, how else did it start to make an improvement in other areas of your life?
Um, that's a really good question because I noticed. Sorry, just trying to get out of the sun here. I noticed. Okay, that's a really good question. Like I can say 100% opportunities started to show up,
Okay.
opportunities to network with very, very high level people. Let's say in New York, I went to an event last year with Unfair Advantage, and the beauty of that event is it's a 3-day event to connect with people in the media in New York. So I got to go to a private cocktail party and just mix with people from NBC, Dateline, CBS, People Magazine, O Magazine, Self Magazine, and had I not gone through that process, I would have not been able to hold my own. But I'm I'm happy to say, and I know there's still more work to do, but I'm happy to say that I could walk into that room and just feel like I belonged there.
Nice. If I were to, well, not if I were, I'm going to ask. So, so what would you say is the positive outlook that you have now about having that cancer diagnosis and seeing where you are today? I mean, how would you extract the positive from all that?
That's a good question. It it gave me such a powerful opportunity to really shift from an old way of being that if I would have continued on that way, eventually it would have led to ill health, dis-ease, you know. It gave me the opportunity then to shift into like really an expansive way of being. Because since then, and I know you followed some of my travels on Facebook, but I have literally been everywhere. So that is just even one way of being, right? Is
Right.
to just travel all over the place and just experience life.
Annie, I so empathize with you right now because I see that sun just totally
I
on
know.
your face.
I'm trying to get away from the sun.
You know? The sun is saying, "We're not having it, Annie. You are coming out."
Oh my God.
Well, yeah. Please feel free if you need to, like, do a dramatic shift or anything to just help
Okay,
yourself
hang
feel
on.
comfortable.
Let's see if I can make this dramatic shift here.
Okay.
Okay, that's way, way, way
Okay.
better. There we go. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So in terms of traveling around the world, I know that you recently shared with me you're about to be like making a huge leap in terms of where you
Yeah.
even live. Will you just share about that and how that plays into the work that you do and your lifestyle and everything?
Yeah. Well, I'm about to make a leap to Ireland. Of
From
course,
from
from Kelowna, BC.
Okay.
Um, I have decided to postpone it for a little bit until air travel settles down. So
Okay.
I was intending to go at the end of May, beginning of June, but yeah, it's still on my list.
That is exciting. And so I would love to hear, would you share with us one or two client success stories of, women who've gone through your program?
Yeah, I would love to. Um, you and I both know Christina, and she and I started to work together not too long ago, and she already shows up powerfully. She
Hmm.
just had this abundant soul traveler summit that we were both part of, and she reached out to me because she was very curious about what I do, and she came to realize that there was a part of her that was still afraid to be seen. So we did some work. I took her through this process. It's called what I call the dream shopping method. And
Okay.
what's amazing to me is we were so set up to do like this virtual shopping experience. So she's in Berlin and we're connected via phone. And this is something that I can do. I can style anybody from anywhere in the world.
That's awesome.
And so she took me into this store that we had set up together, and I could see all the amazing clothes, and I couldn't wait to go in there with her, you know?
Now, let me just get clear. So how did she take you into a store? Do you mean like
Oh, we're just connected via Facebook Messenger, right?
okay.
So with her phone, she's just showing, here's what the store looks like. It was
Okay.
expansive. And then her phone dies. Her phone dies. And I'm thinking, yeah, I was hoping that we would be able to connect, but we didn't. So a day later, I get these posts from her. She's sharing photos, and she's so super excited because um, she got what she was looking for. And what I teach my clients is this process called, finding your superhero cape. It's that one thing that you've always wanted to wear and have never given yourself permission to do it. Have never given yourself permission to do it because we're so conditioned to fit in, so conditioned to look like everybody else, so conditioned to worry about what other people are thinking when we show up to a networking event. What's everyone else wearing? Right?
Right.
So it was this thing that pushes people out of their comfort zone. So she ended up getting this sparkly thing that she absolutely loved. And then we put some power outfits together so that she could wear it for so many occasions, on a Facebook Live. 2 networking events, speaking on stage, and she was able to, because of the process that I gave her, just land exactly what we had intended to do together. So it just was amazing.
How exciting. That is so awesome. And what's coming up for me is I love how you acknowledged, I mean, Christina already was showing
Oh
up
yeah.
powerfully, doing big things. But she was able to identify for herself that, it sounds like she thought she had another level, another place she could go to.
Mhm.
And what are your thoughts on that in terms of this maybe being a progression for some people as they step forward and decide to shine more and more? Any thoughts about
Well,
that?
that's a really good question because, when you think about um, that old paradigm, what I call the old paradigm of getting dressed that was passed on to us for decades. Our mothers and our mothers' mothers, they weren't given permission to do big things. We are doing really big things. So that old paradigm so does not serve us, especially at this time, because we can't afford to have this unconscious block around being seen.
Right.
So, oh shoot, I was just a little distracted thinking you're out of time here. Um,
No, that's okay. We're okay.
yeah, you're okay.
Y- Yeah.
Okay, so what I was going to say is, just give me a second here. What I was going to say is, because we're doing so many big things, we're always evolving. Do you know what I mean? We might
Hmm.
speak on one stage to 100 people, but then we're moving on to speaking to 1,000 people, you know, getting interviewed on TV, let's say, like we're continuing to evolve. So, uh, what like the beauty of this is that it's something that you can do in a very fun, playful way. It's not serious, hard work to shift a lot of baggage around. Like when you choose clothing and just become creative about that expansive self that you're stepping into, it just makes a very, very quick and big transformation.
Where can people connect with you to learn more about the work that you do and reach out to you?
Okay, well, I have this Facebook group called Fashion Badasses, and that's where I'm just sharing tips like this every single day or doing interviews with past clients. So that you can find on Facebook.
Awesome. And do you want to tell them about your website as well?
Yes, my website is www.thereinventionstylist. And on there, soon you'll be able to find this free training on the simple shift you can do to choose clothes that make you feel powerful.
Awesome. Awesome. So, Annie, as we are making this shift, this huge paradigm shift right now globally with people
Hmm.
in the world, and women who I think everyone knows that women have been on this journey for several years. But I know we can also highlight things that have been happening in recent years where just women are continuing to make bigger and bigger shifts forward and allowing themselves to take a stronger stand in their life in all different ways. What is the message that you most want to leave people with to really empower them and support them in moving forward?
That's a really great question. I really want women to feel empowered around the clothing that they choose so that they no longer apologize for, oh, this old thing, and to love their bodies and to show up in a powerful way and to use this thing that this tool that women have loved for a long time, and it has been turned against us, to use it to just fully step into our own power.
Awesome. Well, Annie, thank you so much for being here today. It's
Thank
been nice
you.
getting to hear your story about how you had this, I'm just going to say, what would be a devastating thing to have this incurable cancer diagnosis. And you absolutely flipped the switch. That's incredibly inspiring. It's fun to hear about what you do today.
Thank you. It was incredibly a wonderful opportunity to be a guest on your show today, Kim. I've followed you for such a long time. So
I remember meeting you like a few years ago at a conference that we were both at. And so
yeah,
I'm grateful that we were able to do this today as well. Thank you.
Me too. Me too. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, Annie, stay right here. But to everybody who is been with us today, thank you for being here, and let us know what you're taking away from this interview today. Every day is a new day. Wherever you are today does not have to be where you are tomorrow. And Annie, I think, has a great story and process that she walks people through to really help you experience that from, again, the outside in through your wardrobe. What if you could experience a completely new life by changing your wardrobe so you can actually show up more empowered, be more expressed, and really help you moving forward in that new paradigm? I think it's fascinating, and absolutely check out Annie's group on Facebook that she mentioned. We'll go ahead and put a link to that in the comments as well. Lots of fun and interaction going on in there. And I just hope you know how amazing you are and that there's always hope. So whatever you're doing at this time in the world, I hope that you are doing things that serve you and just having better health, whatever that looks like for you. Releasing what doesn't serve, focusing on what feels better, and doing what it takes to move in that better feeling direction. Have a wonderful day, everybody, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
And that's today's show. So, what are you taking away? Let me know down in the comments wherever you listened or watched today's episode, and connect with me on Facebook on the Everyday is a New Day show and coaching page, or visit KimO'NeillCoaching.com for more info. Remember, every day is always a new day. Wherever you are today does not have to be where you are tomorrow. There is always hope, and you will always be amazing. I'll see you next time.